Chris Lee and Bruno Reagan here. Vanderbilt has lost its second-to-last home game by a score of, 37 to 28 to Missouri. Frankly, one of the last, or probably the most winnable game left on the schedule. I know that was tough to watch for some fans, I think, especially after the swing at the end of the first half, which completely changed the game, and Vanderbilt never recovered. What did you think about all that you saw today? Starting with that, I guess.
Yeah, the swing is not optimal. When I first saw, I don't mind going for fakes, but the situation probably, in hindsight's 2020. Yeah. What I assume happened is Vanderbilt, they were looking for this one look from Missouri the whole time. And maybe on film, they just saw the guys would blindly rush on the edge, and they thought they could just, have a free shot at the edge. And for whatever reason, they didn't. To be honest, I wasn't even really too upset about that. The Hail Mary is, The Hail Mary is a no-go. Also, the field goal should have been the only thing he could have gotten was a first down and no timeouts. It was a bad situation for the field goal. That's something the head coach has to understand. Because if he gets the first down and gets hawked, we have no timeouts. I mean, they have to kick it anyways. So the only real option was to crib it or I'm speaking in locker room terms, to get a touchdown or just not convert. That was it. Looking back, it was stranger. At the time, I was like, "Oh, fake," if you're Cinderella, you got to try and find something. But just giving up that Hail Mary was inexcusable.
The field goal, I didn't have an issue with the call in that spot. Normally, it's a 52-yard field goal. Bullivus can make those, but this is a team that has got to make some plays you probably don't expect it to make for it to win. It's the least talented team in the league, and if you're going to be consistent, when you call out a team and a coach for not taking shots, I don't want to, just because something didn't work, criticize, right? But I think the timeout part you made was key there, because you're right, they don't get that. There's roughly 20 seconds left. I can't remember if it was 22 before the kick.
To run 40-something yards.
Yeah,
he would have to run the 40 yards.
Now, in their defense, they said that they were looking for a certain look that they got, and maybe they felt they could bust it for a touchdown. We know how it turned out. Missouri certainly sniffed it out. They had two defenders there. For whatever they saw pre-snap, it just didn't pan out that way. Yeah, I mean, I think, and here's one thing, right? I believe early in the game, they took a timeout early, and I think it was on defense, maybe the first series that Missouri had the ball, and you're just thinking, these are the kinds of things that sometimes come back to bite you, and that one kind of did, maybe.
If they made the first down, it would.
Right. Well, yes, that's my point. It took, even if they get it, it takes something away, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a million things just so wrong. Out of nowhere, there will be effort issues. And it's not a really issue on as much as it was at the beginning of the season, but it's just out of nowhere. Guys not sprinting onto the field when they're substituting, and then they're a guy just walks onto the field and he's just standing there when the plays ran on defense. That's mind-blowing to me, how that guy just doesn't get hung by his shirt on the stadium after the game and left there. I guess we're coached to jump into the neutral zone. I've never seen a team it had to have been 2 or 3 times, and they just keep doing it. They'll show their blitz, and they just jump in the neutral zone. If you're an offensive lineman, your coach has half a brain. You're taught to just move and draw the penalty, and then you're going to get it every time. And so the rules written up. So the fact that we just kept doing it on defense was, I was just shocked. I physically could not watch this football game anymore. I was getting sick of watching it. Offensive line was doing great in the run. I thought they protected well. I thought we saw Mike do the same old, where sometimes he'll have great protection. He just runs outside and then throws the ball away. But I can see why he does it, because he can't make those 10-yard slant routes. He's scared to throw to wide-open receivers down the middle, and the only time he wasn't when he just throws bullets to Chris Pierce in the fourth quarter. It's like, dang, if you could do that, 2 quarters ago, we would be a lot better off. It's hard to criticize Mike because he does have these big runs, and Part of him has that it factor, but part of him also really, really lacks in fundamental quarterbacking.
Yeah. Well, they don't have a downfield passing game. They throw 3 touchdown passes today, and if you look at it, you say, hey, that's pretty good, right? Well, 2 of them were underhand flips that you and I could have made. I'm not taking that away from Mike, but you take those out. He throws for 1 touchdown, 1 pick in terms of like really throwing the ball, and I think the average under 5 yards a throw, something close to that. I'll look at the stat sheet. Excuse my dog if you can hear that.
We had a solid rushing attack, but it doesn't. 28 points a game. Is it enough to win? Yeah, but that should be the average in SEC games. So if you're putting up 28 on the worst opponent you're going to play in the SEC, it's just not going to get it done. I thought defense has been coming out to play. They create turnovers and pivotal moments where the offense or special teams just flops. Also, just things are shooting off in my head. I had no idea why. The first 2 games, I was like, okay, our punter is like our only good player. And now we're just shanking punts out of nowhere, and we're doing these rugby kicks that bounce backwards. It just doesn't make sense. Make it make sense.
That to me is glaring. Harrison Smith has got a cannon, and they've just taken it away from him. And maybe they can say it's punt block issues. I don't know how that's that complicated when you're sticking 3 guys in front of your punter to take care of rushers. Help me out here.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how a guy comes clean off the edge and blocks it. I don't know if their wall is supposed to break. I don't know if that's a man-on-man issue that a guy just totally whiffed on. I mean, Missouri was awful. I was aghast at how terrible of a football team Missouri was. I was watching that game, and I was just like, this is hilariously bad. Could you imagine Keyshawn Vaughn running against this Missouri team? He would have had 500 yards. He would have had 600 yards. It was abysmal. And the fact that we just could not seal the deal. I don't know what it is about Vandy, man. We can't start. We just can't, for the life of us, start with a lead. We can't start with a stop.
Oh, my goodness. They did it again. They spot them 10 points in no time.
I heard the excuse, I think, from a coach was, well, we don't get a lot of our scout team sucks, basically. Like, paraphrases what he said. He's like, we're playing against a scout team, so when we go into game day, we're just not prepared for the speed. And it's like, man, you gotta figure it out. That is a terrible excuse. That's the worst excuse I've ever heard in coaching history. I can just imagine Nick Saban being like, well, our scout team sucks, so that's why we just can't get it together, It's so crazy. I don't know how. Is there any way we can just start kicking onside kicks at the beginning of games? Because I'm tired, and maybe we recover one. Because I'm just tired of them getting.
They have given up a touchdown.
What?
All but 2 games this year on the first drive, or maybe all but 3, and then they've given up field goals on 2 of those drives. You're right. I mean, if you're going to start that way, why not onside kick it? Because the other team's going to get points anyway.
I mean, that's an analytic idea.
There we go.
Like, we really just, I don't know. They just can't do it. And so the start and the end is somewhere in the middle. There's a decent football team, and there should be. I always say there's a lack of talent, but there on some parts of the team there really isn't. Wide receiver has no lack of talent. Offensive.
Well, let me hold you there. I was in the box today, and you were at home watching. They didn't get separation downfield again. So, again, I would say I don't think Mike Wright is a quarterback. I do think he's a really good player who can help them, and he busted runs of 69 and 70 today, so that's good. But in Mike's defense, I didn't see a lot of guys just breaking open downfield, giving him a lot of help either.
We have 2 of the same type of players on the ones, and that's an issue.
That's a really good point, Bruno.
Yeah, Will Shepard and Chris Pierce are both 50-50 ball guys. And what that means is they're not going to break away with speed or whatever, but they're the guy you throw it up to when you really want, either you have a mismatch or nothing else is working. Like, Chris is a huge 3rd and 10 guy, I would say. Chris is – and it came out in the end there. You get to 3rd and 10, it's like, dang, the coverage is kind of killing it, whatever. Just getting Chris man-to-man, throw it up. I think Will is that same player, honestly. They just like him a little bit more. And I think he might be not as good as Chris in the 50-50 ball. And you saw it today. I mean, Chris likes to fade on his jumps, whereas Will likes to fade on his jumps, and Chris attacks the ball. Chris Pierce attacks the ball, and that's great for a 50-50 build. Will is like fading off into it, and then the DBs are starting to just jump in front of it at the last second, and where they're not at risk of picking it. They're just selling out for the tip, and they're getting it. If Will attacked the ball with how big he is, I think he's big boy. A lot of these dudes. That's a lot. Dude, there's a lot to vent about. But one person you cannot blame this loss on is Ethan Barr. That guy took like 5. He missed one sack where somehow he blazes off, gets the foot, and the quarterback makes a crazy throw off the edge to like a wide open receiver on a 3rd and 14. Other than that, the kid made like 4 Missouri players his son tonight. It was amazing to watch. That kid's going to be a freak. He might play in the NFL. He is that good. He is that good.
I thought Anthony Orgy played well at times. And Malik Langham, I think we saw him more than we've seen.
What number is he?
35.
Yes. What did he do? He did something. Oh, the center tried to reach him, and he took the center and drove him on a screenplay all the way to the sideline and forced the ball carrier back inside to him.
I think I remember that play.
Yeah. I think the commentators even had to because it's one of those things where he didn't make the play, but he made that play. Yeah. It was very impressive. So I'm glad you brought that up. Another guy that deserves praise. That was a huge effort play.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Beatty just killed him, though. The guy had 39 touches, 294 yards, and he does that. Tyler Beatty, if you look at his game stats, because he had exactly 1,000 yards of total offense coming in, but he just destroys bad defenses. Now, you put him up against Texas A&M, Georgia, somebody not so much, but this is the kind of game where he goes off, and he did today. And give him credit. I mean, he's a really good player. He'll get a shot in the league, I think. And to be the focal point of your offense that much, and he made the play of the game, probably. But, well, maybe not. That would be the Hail Mary, which we haven't talked about yet, and we're going to next. But, I mean, a 75-yard run to get them down to the 2, that's where they iced the game, and that was what his 39th touch. That was amazing. Let's give that kid some due.
Yeah, 100%. That kid's a freak. I was kind of, it looked at halftime, or at least coming out of halftime, at times in the third quarter, it looked like he was like, man, I can't even go anymore. I was like, thank God this guy can't go anymore. But he would just go out there and then bust another 30, 40, or 80-yard run on us. Yeah, that dude was the truth. He put the team on the back. So that's the thing about these games. Someone shows up that's typically not in a Vanderbilt jersey and just puts a team on a back. I'm waiting for the day where a Vanderbilt guy can do that, but we're just not there yet.
Okay, Hail Mary. I'm surprised we've gone this long and have not gotten to it yet. Opinions on our board were split. Some people were saying the players know better and they should have made the play. Some people were saying that's on coaching. Look, I never played football on an organized team in my life, but I know that in that situation you knock the ball down. If I know that, the DBs know it. So is that on the coaches or is that on the defensive backs?
Listen. You want me to be totally honest with you, Chris?
That's why we're here.
No, you have. I saw a guy who works for Vanderbilt tweet touchdown, and I didn't watch the Hail Mary. I threw my phone at the wall. So can you explain? Did the DBs try to catch it?
I didn't see anybody knocking it down. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
It is. Well, anytime that happens, the receiver had to make a great play. They had a bunch of defenders there. And here's one thing. One of the criticisms was they didn't rush enough guys. And Bazelak had all day. I still think Bazelak, if he hadn't thrown the ball yet, would still be standing in the pocket 5 hours later waiting for someone to get to him. But here's the thing. You're going to have the other team outnumbered in that situation. Why not send another defender? I think that was one of the criticisms. And I'm not sure that's off base. So...
Well, three guys can typically get home after about 7 to 8 seconds. Like, you'll have a 7, which is a solid cushion of time, but eventually you will have to throw the ball. Like, you can't pass pro forever. But I actually do remember this. Someone else tweeted it and was like, "What is this guy doing?" And it was Davion Davis who, played well, but also he was just sitting there, and he's just, he's not even rushing. He's like watching for a quarterback run, and it's like, dude, this is the last play of the half. He's not going to run it.
Yeah.
Go get him. Yeah, the fact. I mean, when I say there's a talent discrepancy, a Hail Mary getting, making it look easy on you is like 100% like just a expose of such a thing.
That's where the game changed. That sequence of the field goal fake went bad, and that they never really recovered from that.
No, I mean they started extremely slow in the first quarter, pick up steam, just fumble the game at halftime. Then they come out in the third quarter, I think have 8 yards of offense. So they start slow again, pick up steam, and then just throw the game away at the fourth quarter. It's the same story every time. I want a different story. I'm sick of my mom reading me this bedtime story. I want a different story. I want a different book read to me, Mom. I'm tired of this. I'm watching the same thing over and over again.
I've got something to match the mood here. And if you were next to me and not in Clarksville while I'm in Franklin, I might give you this now, but here we go.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It just feels like a sense of there's no hope. It's just Vanderbilt's the enemy. Just not even no one event. It's the concept of Vanderbilt, because I tweeted, I was like, this is the most Vanderbilt game I've ever seen in my life, because there is that sliver of hope out of nowhere. Like someone eventually does make a big play, and then it just crumbles, just crashes down to the ground. Did you see what SEC Mike quote tweeted about me? It was hilarious.
I like that guy, by the way. That's Michael Bratton.
Yeah, go look at my timeline. I retweeted it. It was
okay.
It's like basically the stages of grief. Like it's like denial. It's like acceptance, like all that. I felt like a Vandy fan today, man. I was glad I wasn't in the press box and didn't have to act a certain way. I was just, I was all in for it, and I can feel the heartbreak. It is tough, man.
By the way, I'm a little distracted at the moment. I think, as a lot of people know, I'm a big Braves fan. The World Series has started, and there's a Vandy connection here, because the Braves started a kid who'd thrown 4 1/3 major league innings, and he promptly loaded the bases with nobody out. And the Braves had brought in Kyle Wright. If Mike does that on top of today, then he's really had a day. But former Vandy pitcher Kyle Wright is in, and he's gotten 2 outs. The Astros have scored 1 run, and he's got a 1-2 count on Kyle Tucker, who's one of the Astros' better hitters. So Kyle Wright gets him out of this jam. Well, and Wright's a kid who, and we'll get back to football shortly, but
let's talk baseball. This is fun.
Now you're entering my world. We're good with this. Kyle Wright was a first-round pick from Vandy. Of course, pitched on the 2015 runner-up team, and really has just never materialized in Atlanta. Didn't pitch a lot this year. Just, I don't know what happened, but they brought him up for the playoffs when they had an injury. He struck out the side in that 7-2 loss the other night, which, no pressure in that situation. You're down 5 runs in the last inning. But he's real close to getting them out of a jam. And being a Braves fan, he just bounced a wild pitch, but they didn't score. But anyway, so if you are happening to be watching us and you keep up with baseball and Vanderbilt baseball, you might want to turn on our TV right now, or your TV. But should we just grab the mailbag here, or do you have anything else?
No.
Okay.
Let's start going to the mailbag. I haven't seen any of it yet, so the second you told me we got an hour, I just laid on my bed and looked at my ceiling. So this is all off the rip.
By the way, mailbag, and thanks to our sponsors at the site, Jody Jones DDS, and also Sutherland and Belk. They sponsor our mailbags on the podcast. Are you pulling the mailbag up on your phone? Or do you need me to?
I was looking at the Braves game. Yeah, can you do it real quick?
Yes, I can.
I did see that he got them out of that jam. Good for him.
We have dwindling questions here, which is kind of how the year goes, but we'll take them on. Let's see. That's really a comment, not a question. I think this was meant for Clark Lee for me to ask in the postgame, but was posted in the thread. I'll read it to you, and I'll let you be coach.
Okay.
All right, Coach Bruno, what did you learn from previous games about decision making and play calling, and how do you think it impacted your decisions today? And how do you think your lack of confidence in the team affects the players' confidence?
I think we played about as basic as you could against South Carolina. And, the response was the response. The criticism was the criticism. So we took it from one extreme to the other. And we overdid it this game. And that caused a wild momentum swing when we didn't need to, have that risk. It wasn't the end of the game, and that's what it is. I made one coaching error on this side of the spectrum. And now this week I decided to answer, but made it on this side of the spectrum. And if I can find this middle ground right here, maybe one day we'll win an SEC game.
What hurts is that was their last best chance for a win. Ole Miss is an awful matchup. Although Matt Corral left that game in a cart, and I don't know what his status is. I was listening to that on the way home. So now they're playing a freshman who's never completed a pass in college until today. Now Ole Miss is still going to beat. Ole Miss has got too much speed, I think, but
Yeah.
maybe it makes it a little bit more of a fair fight. Tennessee, who knows? If Hendon Hooker's hurt, it gets more interesting. Kentucky will just do what Kentucky does, and that will be smash them between the tackles, and I just don't think they're fit to deal with that. I really thought, and frankly, before the season I said this, if they win 3 games, that was about where my expectation was, but I always said, too, I'm not really worried about the wins total. And they had 2. People are saying, well, they could have 4 wins. They could also have no wins because the Colorado State game and the UConn game, I mean, you don't hit a field goal. So to me, they're right where they should be. And I'll say the same thing I've said from the beginning. The Connecticut game framed all of this. It really did, because it really started him off on a bad path. And I'm not defending him. I'm not saying that's wrong. You shouldn't lose to ETSU. That is an indictment on coaching and whatever else. But anyway, I guess my point here is they're about where they are in the win-loss column. If they win 2 instead of 3, I don't really care. It's all the other stuff. It's the optics of the – you had the pre-snap penalties. It's the offense has been awful. And let's also be clear, they've lost their best running back, and they've lost their starting quarterback. And that's left a mark, too. Maybe their most gifted defender was out today for discipline issues, and I have to think that's on the player. But I don't know. I guess I'll say this. I'd be shocked if they won any of the last 3. But, if you look good in some of those games and make it close going into the fourth quarter by some chance, it does change maybe how you look in the offseason, and you're not having any of this.
Don't do that to me. Just
okay.
I'm at that point, man, where I
We have switched roles. Last week I lost my mind for different reasons, and this is your turn, so it's all good.
I don't know. It's a can of worms. The press box is a good place because you're supposed to act a certain way, and it keeps your emotions in check. But I'm here in my own place, and I live alone, so I'm literally just losing my mind, and it turns into an avalanche. Yeah. So I'm still on that train right now.
Do you watch the game with your dad?
I was going to. I was coaching today at Naga, and we got out at 2, and I was driving home. So I'm watching the first quarter. I'm not watching it. I'm playing it on my radio on my way home, driving home. Right before halftime, I'm pulling off the exit. I get off exit 19, which is where my dad lives, instead of my exit. So I get off, and the Hail Mary happens. I hear it, and I see the tweet, and I just drive by my dad's house. I'm like, I don't want to watch this with my dad. So if he's listening to this, I was literally going to come surprise you and watch the game with you. And then I was like, there's no way I can do this. And good thing I didn't go.
He is commenting on the game thread, or the thread here. He says, Vandy needs leadership and stop the stupid plays. Yes, stupid. And then penalties are making me nuts.
Yeah, me and my dad would just feed the negative energy off each other. It wouldn't be a good match to watch.
I love your dad.
No, he's awesome and hilarious, but God, I just can't do it today. I'm gonna go watch some NFL games tomorrow with him that I don't feel too objective towards. But It's hard, man. This is like the same. This reminds me so much of like just an ex-girlfriend coming back, and I'm like, she's changed this time, and then she just breaks my heart again. Except it happens 10 times. It's all it feels like. This is ridiculous.
The minute you said let's talk baseball, I knew it was bad. That was a dead giveaway that you just didn't want to have any of it today.
Yeah, well, we've talked about most of the issues. I think. And if we haven't, I would hope people comment and bring up what we should talk about. But I feel like Vandy fans are the same way right now. Like we're talking about the post game thread. I haven't even looked at it, but it sounds like it's probably how the post game thread gets. Eventually, halfway through, it just devolves.
Oh no! I think people are broken by this one because usually like ETSU. There were probably 24 questions, and now it's just like,
Yeah. First of all, just what a way to start a football season. Hey, if you're a Vandy fan and you're listening to the show and you're commenting and all that, shout out to you, man. I don't know. I'm an alumni.
Yeah.
I'm a proud alum, and I can barely do it. So shout out to you guys that show up and tailgate at 5 a.m. every day. You animals.
Hey, I like this one. John Young puts this in the comments, and this is a really good thought. I had not thought of this. Why do you think Lee didn't put Chris Pierce and Amir in on that Hail Mary? Seems like absolute coaching malpractice considering we don't have a very tall secondary. I don't think that's the worst idea. I mean, you see that happen. You see the Titans, they'll put A.J. Brown in that spot.
No, that's a great idea.
And their DBs are not that tall. So, yeah. I mean – Pearson and Will Shepard. Well, I don't know if you want to put 3 receivers in, but tall, rangy guys who can position themselves to get the ball. I would have put Pearson Shepard in.
No, those are good. Receivers are good. Georgia made the critical mistake of putting Lorenzo Carter. Do you remember him? He was a DN. He was like 6'7", very, very long guy. They made the mistake of putting him in there. And while he is tall, super athletic, he just doesn't practice like the timing of a jump or a ball. And Juwan Jennings, mosses him. So a guy like Chris and Will, at least they have the skill set to go up and touch the ball. That's something I haven't thought about, and that's a good point. But you should only stick to people who play in the skill positions too. You don't want to be like, let's put in the big guy and have him just get mossed.
What was your phone like today? You text with former players.
Dead. Every game, I'm talking like it's total, like a lot of DMs, mentions, text, and if it's not good, it's bad. Like people are messaging me, talking trash or trolling, only good fun. Dead today. Not a single message.
Yeah, the crowd was awful. I bet you there were.
I was gonna text you. I was like, "What's the crowd look like?" But then I saw you tweet it, and I was like, "Never mind."
I'll bet. My guess would be there would have been 10, 11,000 fans there, and it was probably 55% Vanderbilt. And Missouri fans are pretty ticked off at their own team and coach right now. They're not very happy with their season. So,
yeah, they suck. They're terrible. They're an awful football team. And I'm not saying that to be like mean or I hate Missouri. It's just objectively, other than that running back they had, Beatty, I guess his name was. Their offensive line is terrible. Their defense is terrible. They've always found weapons off the edge, but whenever I played, they used to play really gimmicky defense, and it seems like they don't even do that really well anymore. Now it's just, let's let everyone rush 250 on us. Now they're a bad football team. Yeah, they're the Vader. We're the emperor of the SEC in terms of, I guess, skill level.
When does this get better? I mean, in all seriousness, when does this get better?
When it's over? When the season's over?
No. Good answer. Not the one I was looking for.
This is the next season thing. We have to, starting on just a totally different note. Like these guys are just used to just getting just totally ran through on the first possession of a game and then having to fight back. They just put themselves in adversity off the start. And, that needs to be the focus of next year. They did great not turning the ball over this game and creating turnovers that kept them in the game. Talk about all the time. Turnover margin is the best thing you can do to try and even out a skill gap. But next year it needs to be start fast. We're going to start. We can't do this 3-and-out first drive after getting 7-0. You can't do that. You can't play like that. You can't win like that. It's just Not going to happen. If you ever have to ask, does being down 10-0 affect the team's mentality? Yeah. You go, oh, we're down 10-0. We're just going to get stomped again. It goes through their head 100%.
If Max Worship doesn't make a pick right there near the goal line,
oh, it's over.
Then
yeah.
it's
I thought we were going to see an Ole Miss 2016. They went up 10-0 on us right off the jump in the first quarter, and then we win 38-10. I thought that was about to happen, but the fake punt. Oh my God, the fake kick. Fake kick, Chris.
2016. I like this. What are you going to do with that?
Put it down.
That's
an
answer. That's not the interesting answer.
No, this is my building. I can't mess with it, but I want to.
Was this your apartment?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, don't put holes through the wall. We don't have the budget to pay for that here.
You're telling me. Yeah. My dad will bail me out. Don't worry.
Oh.
Shout out, Dad.
Good Lord. I think everybody's just over it.
Yeah, this game definitely signified it. It just sucks so bad because it looked like we were going to win, man. And Vandy fans hate following me on Twitter, but they do it because it's interesting. I was like, oh, we're going to win this game. I was like, we will win this game. And, they're like, don't say that. You can't say that.
I thought that till the Hail Mary. And then I'm like, oh,
yeah,
here goes.
Oh, I was really upset with the pass interference call right at the beginning. Our defense made a great play. He goes over the shoulder, bats it down.
Yeah.
But then they start calling. If you're going to call it on us like that, I always say you have to call it on them. And they were hammering Ole Miss, or not Ole Miss. They're hammering Mizzou with it too. Like
they did.
Their pass interferences were going everywhere. It was a bad officiating game again. I think Vanderbilt's just were officiating like they just this is like let's just smoke a ton of drugs or something, and then go out there and have fun and do whatever. That's what it feels like when it's a Vanderbilt game and you're watching the officiating. It's just
it's that in the TV slots, right? They're going to get one of the worst TV slots or stations and that's where they are until they change it. But I'm sure it's probably that way with officiating crews. But
no, man, it's really not fair to anybody. The players, the coaches. The coaches could do a lot better, yeah. And I'm really bothered by the offensive coordinator moving into camp. That means there was an issue, like a preemptive issue from the start that probably could have been avoided. But something went by the vetting process. But it is what it is. I didn't expect a lot either from the season, but I also expected to be heartbroken, and here we are. So
David Wright was in the box today. I saw him up there. So for whatever that's worth, the one thing I will say. And this is stuff that you pick up on being at a game that you don't when you're at home. There was energy on the sidelines today. You had guys jumping around. It wasn't the James Franklin where they just lost their minds, every third down situation.
We got a sideline penalty.
Yeah, they did. So they're not. Yeah, they're not where I've seen it, but it's. There was some energy and some enthusiasm today. You saw it from the coaches a little bit. So for whatever it's worth.
When there's 8,000 people in the stadium, how can there be any energy? And when I was in front of you guys as a player, in front of the media, I would give all the coach speak answers too, right? They're going to tell you what to say. I do it too, right? Oh, the crowd doesn't affect us. We go out there and we play the same every time. BS, dude. When that Tennessee 2016 game happened, we came back from the brink because every big play we made, the stadium lost their mind. And then we lost our mind. Then we became psychos. Like, I could have torn my ACL and I wouldn't have even felt it until after the game. It matters. So the fact that it's been like this for the past 3 years, it affects the players 100%.
Hey, here's a good one. Jacob Kroom asks, Bruno, what did the offensive line do well and poorly in the run game tonight? Interested in seeing that group improve.
I've been saying outside zone, hammer the outside zone, and then we start hammering outside zone like crazy, and then somewhere through the middle of the game. So we improved in our basic zone game. We have a staple. We have a staple that this offense can run. But to Tyler Steen's side, we have issues. I think he still is trying to figure out, just the pacing of how to reach somebody. I think he had some issues where people go underneath. He would end up holding, but other than that, They were fitting it up extremely well at the beginning of the games. Their pass pro has been better. It's hard to tell because Mike Wright is just leaving the pocket instantly every time. I can't even really bring up offensive line improvement because it's irrelevant. But the pro was there. I wish Ken was there to bask in the good pro. But he got the terrible pro, and now Mike's getting the pretty good pro. The offensive line has been playing pretty well, man. No penalties. I can't remember the last offensive line penalty we've really gotten in the most recent 2 games. I mean, they played them. The DBs honestly have played well enough to win. This is just a random tackling issue. What about that tackle, Chris? First of all, do you see
the Owusu one?
Was it Michael Owusu?
You're talking early in the game where I don't know if it was Beatty or somebody just bounced off a defender.
Oh, yeah, that's the one. I mean, Beatty got rocked, but the defender just didn't even wrap up.
And then he went for another 30 yards.
Yeah, down the side. Just stuff like that cannot happen. That is bad. That's almost as bad as last week's tackling the punter. That is that bad football. It's just like
the punter tackler. I don't think got into the game this week.
Hey, I don't know what level, like what's being coached over there, but it's at least refreshing to know that, hey, if you are going to tackle a punter, you're not going to get in the game, man, because that's about as worse as something. You might as well snap the ball as a center and turn around and tackle your own quarterback. It's just that ridiculous of a play.
One thing I did notice today, they did not sub as much on the defensive line. They went Langham, Wilkins, Davis were in there a lot, along with Clifton. Other than that, and they were playing Miles Capers, who hadn't played a down all year, and I thought was a kid that when I watched him in conditioning and running in camp, I was like, hey, they don't have a lot of guys that run as well as he runs. And so sure enough, sometimes that shows up late in the year. And so he's getting playing time now that I guess he's learning the system. They were using him as a stand-up edge guy, I think off both sides. He's a linebacker. But I didn't see Christian James got 3 tackles today. I didn't notice much of him. But they didn't rotate a lot at the line. Surges played and McAllister played. They each got a tackle or 2, but I don't remember them out there much. A lot of times earlier in the year they would rotate – I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 guys, and Devin Lee was part of that, and Marcus Bradley was part of that, and Terian Sujic was part of that at times. I think what they've done with those kids, Bruno, is I think they've hit their 4-game limit, and they're just saying goodbye. We're putting your red shirt on. And it's easy to second guess, right? But I kind of go back and wish that maybe you don't play some of those kids against Georgia or Florida or wherever they burned a game that didn't matter. I'm not saying that they would have beaten Missouri today, but when you give up 250 yards to a back, you start to say, well, something could have been better somewhere, and maybe that's a game where having fresher linemen and having some of those guys available just to give them a rest would have helped them today. I don't know.
Yeah, but when the second you decide to burn that thing, it is what it is, man. And you got to live with that decision. I mean,
and by the way, I'm not being critical. I think it's better to redshirt them and have them for a 5th. They're going to be better players 4 years from now. And what's it really matter? I mean, frankly, if they play today, they probably don't win anyway. But I did notice it. It was like, okay, they're asking a lot out of Clifton and Wilkins and oh, good grief. The other guy was Davion Davis. They were asking a lot of those guys today because they were out there most of the time. Like you look at Georgia, Jordan Davis is their best defensive lineman. He's playing like 38, 39% of the snaps because they're Georgia and they can.
It must be so nice.
Yeah, that's where things are.
Playing every snap is so unbearably hard. It feels like you're getting your body, especially this late to the season, feels like you get hit by a train.
Now, so didn't you have your junior or senior year? You almost did miss a snap. Am I right about that?
I never miss a snap. What's it called? I think TSU games we were able to get out, but I never, other than that, I never missed a snap. Bama blowout, never missed. So yeah, TSU and maybe Austin P. So I don't know. I think those are the only snaps I ever missed.
Didn't you play hurt half your junior or senior season, or am I imagining that?
No, I tore my PCL Tennessee my redshirt freshman year, my second start ever. But after that, I really never had an injury.
Okay.
No, I was incredibly lucky. No concussion issues, no serious injuries, just a few sprains here and there, jam thumbs. It was a product of the way I played too. I played for longevity, and also because the coaches kind of didn't like me at first, so they were looking for any reason to play someone else. So I was like, "Ain't no way I'm letting anyone else play."
They don't like the direct speak over there much, do they?
No, well, that's the thing. That's me anywhere, jobs or whatever.
Right.
Like you will not like me at first, but eventually you'll come to love me. At least that's what my last O-line coach told me. So,
what was it your last year or your junior year where like you weren't playing center and then you got called on to play center like at the last minute after not practicing? You had one of those too, didn't you?
Oh. That was a little bit of that was a me issue too. It was okay. South Carolina senior year.
Yeah.
Javion Kinlaw was having a career game against us, and I thought I played pretty well. But when Kinlaw plays that well, you got to give him props. It is what it is. And a really good friend of mine, I'm still best friends with him to this day, was playing center, and I got extremely mad on the sideline, and it was tough. It was probably the only time my senior year I really didn't have good leadership, or I laid into him and I was like, play me at center, and then I go in, I went in with basically no training at all, and then I played center the rest of the season. So
now, didn't they take you off official visit hosting?
Oh yeah, well, yeah. So I hosted.
This is good.
Yeah, I hosted Kyle Anderson, my redshirt, my true freshman year. I hosted Kyle Anderson, and he committed, by the way. But basically, we went out to a party, and Kyle was a lot like me, where on my visit, I was a wrestler guy, so I was no nonsense. All the dudes thought I was weird, but I was like, I just want to commit and go home. Like, that's all I want to do. So Kyle was the same as me, but I was in college, and I was just kicking it with the boys. So, I was basically Kyle Anderson took me back to the player hotel. Like where I have to drop him off like late at night. I was intoxicated and Kyle Anderson was sober and he was like, "Hey, we're back." And so after that they didn't let me do it again, which was hilarious. And one of the guys asked me to do it my senior year, and I was just like, "Nope, not doing it again." So,
all right, another question or two. Brian's start of it. I think we've got an urban legend going around about Ken Steele's. Is there any chance they're going to redshirt Seals? He's only played 4 games, right? No, he's played 6.
No, he's not redshirting. Yeah.
No.
As far as I know, man, as far as I know, the second he's healthy, he's going to be back out there and be the one again. That's as far as I know. After the season, I'm not speculating for Ken. I don't know, but it's one of those things I feel like after every season with such an ugly season, there's always the talk like, hey, who's transferring kind of deal. So we'll see. For any of the guys that do contact me after the season, for advice, I give them the same advice, man. I'm like, listen, talk to some of your buddies that are in the transfer portal. It's not as glamorous as it seems. So I always opt for caution when it comes to these things.
I think I'm done.
Me too.
I mean, today, but anyway.
No, I'm done with everything. Today, whatever. I just want to go play video games, watch the Braves. So
I expect many Braves texts from you.
I mean, when I say watch the Braves, I'll check it on my phone. Well, speaking of which, where are they at now?
It's 1-0. Kyle Wright is throwing a couple innings now.
Nice.
Got him out of bases loaded. Nobody out in the first with 1 run and threw a scoreless second. So.
Good. Well, Chris, that was. I was going to text you mid-game, though. I was like, I will not run out of stuff. Because last week it was a tough week for me trying to figure out stuff to write. I mean, we got blown out by Miss State, and it was tough. This week, easy. This is an easy Wright week. Very easy.
Yeah, we're out of questions, so let's get out of here.
Sounds good.
All right. For Bruno Reagan, I'm Chris Lee. Thanks to our sponsors, Jody Jones, DDS, and Sutherland and Belk. We'll see you again next. No, we won't see you next week because there's a bye week. Oh, one more question. I'll get this in on the wire. David, I can't read his last name from here. Do you think there is pressure to take additional risks like a fake field goal because of the offensive challenges? Good question.
Yeah, 100%. No, they know. They know they have to be unconventional to win. That's why I didn't hate it at first. I personally didn't hate it. I still have my tweet up. I don't delete my tweets either. I was like, I don't mind the call there. But when I stop and think about it, I was like, well, maybe that wasn't the moment, So it is what it is. Hindsight's 2020. But I think the staff feels the pressure, and that's why they're doing this stuff.
Let's get out of here. Have a good night.
You too. Later,
Thanks
guys.
for watching. We'll catch you again with the post game in 2 weeks.